Hello and welcome to the Thought Leader Recruit podcast, where we dive into the latest trends shaping recruitment, hiring and talent acquisition. Today, I'm joined by Kate Chandan, Manager Director of Ethica Recruiting. Welcome to the show, Kate.
Hi, Sam. Good to see you.
Great to have you here. So let's start off with your background. What led you into the recruitment industry?
Well, when I did a marketing degree at uni and just finished the degree like many people do and thinking, actually, I don't want to go into that. Thank you. I think you either finish uni and be like, yeah, this is for me, or like, no, I want to do something totally different. So to be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And this was back, I'm showing my age now, but this is back in the days where you used to go around to the high street with your CV and register with agencies. Not that that's a thing anymore, but registered with a few agencies, got offered a couple of jobs as a recruiter and thought, oh, I'll just give it a go and see what happens. I did that for a little while and absolutely hated it. I hated every second of it. And I thought, this is not for me. Then I kind of like changed my kind of like journey and went down sort of FMCG sales. So worked for like Heineken in the on-trade. Then I worked for Seabrook Crisp, sort of like dealing with the malts, and then Fox's Biscuits as well. So real kind of like FMCG background, dealing with malts, convenience and discounters as well. Then I went on to have my 3 children and then kind of came back into recruitment after that. Just by chance, really, and kind of forgot how much I actually enjoyed it, sort of like working with myself and working for myself. So really, part of me is that I just love speaking to people, love helping people, and that's a massive part of it. So Ethica has been going, it'll be 3 years in May, actually, which has flown by.
Ones where you need to have a big kind of personality and good at communicating with people. So
Yeah.
what would you say is the biggest kind of misconception businesses have about working with recruiters?
Goodness me, listen, recruiters get a bad rep. And I get it. I absolutely get it. And I understand it because, throughout my career, I've been on the receiving end of that as well. And I think it's really hard when people have had a bad experience with something that then they brand sort of like all recruiters as bad, all recruiters as, is not a very good service. But I think the main thing that comes across when I speak to potential clients, when I have like the first call with them, I'll ask them like, what have you done so far? What's worked for you in the past? Why are you having a conversation with me? Because, there's clearly something there that you need some help with. But it seems that people are very nervous to use recruiters because they don't really want to build long-term relationships. This is generally the feedback that I get, that people aren't really interested in building that sort of like long-term strategic partnership with clients. It's more about sort of like get in, get your feet and get off. And I've heard some real horror stories as well, where people will place a candidate and then 6 months later that same recruiter's on the phone saying, got an opportunity for you, sort of poaching them from their own client again, which is really unethical or really wrong. So I do understand why people why recruiters get a bad rep. I think recruitment's changed so much over, it's something that's ever changing and evolving. And I think now it's much more going down the road of sort of like that retained relationship. So you don't just go in there. I mean, obviously people only use recruiters when you need one. It's like getting your car serviced. You're not going to take your car to be serviced unless you need it. For me, what works for me and what I do with all of my clients is I want them to see me as an extension of their business, and I want them to like embrace me and let me into their business, because it really helps me build relationships, not just with HR or the hiring manager, but the business as a whole. So I can really get to understand the drivers for their business, their strategy, where they want to go. And that enables me then to find the right people for them that will take them on that journey wherever they want to be. So I think it's changing. There's still a lot of bit of a bad rep out there, but on the whole, I think, the fact it's moving to those more strategic relationships, and it's about finding the right partner for you. Not every recruiter is right for every company, and vice versa. So it's finding that person that you can work with, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Turning it on its head, you will be more successful if you build those long-term relationships, because people trust you, because trust you, and that's where the success comes from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think right now, and again, this changes all the time, I think companies are struggling to find the right candidates. In the last 18 months, I would say that the job boards and that kind of mechanic just doesn't work anymore. Can you help me with this? And especially the roles that I work on. So the roles I predominantly do are sales and marketing roles within FMCG, because that's my background, that's my skill set, that's where I know, I kind of know the customer base. it's matching a CV to a job spec, and it's really not. And I think in sales, especially, a lot of people hire on personality because the product can be interchangeable. So they are quite interchangeable. I think it's finding the people with that drive and that passion and that enthusiasm to really grow is challenging in the market. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's can be a little bit of both. So, for example, if you've got a client that is dead set on somebody being in the office 5 days a week, your talent pool shrinks immediately. Whereas if you could move to a hybrid working pattern, it extends it quite a lot because people are willing to travel a little bit further if they're in the office sort of 3 days a week rather than every single day. So that's quite a major challenge, is that candidates are wanting that flexibility. There's definitely been a shift that people want to get back into the office more, but not full time. But then if the client, that's their working pattern, can have an impact and the talent that's out there. But I think, the talent is absolutely out there. It's about, speaking to people and keeping in touch with them and fight, because people's situations change all the time. But, it has to be a lot more of a proactive approach than reactive.
So what do some of the biggest mistakes you see businesses make when trying to attract top talent?
Being too rigid in what they're looking for. There needs to be a little bit of flex. There's no harm in having an ideal want list of, what you would love. Being a little bit too rigid, I would say. Potentially trying to get people as cheap as you can. Especially if you are mapping the market out and you are, you're doing your search, you're finding your candidates. And if you are wildly out, if you're speaking to like 10, 15 candidates and their salary expectations is like 15%, 20% above what the company are offering, that's not just one person. So it's kind of like being sensible with that, and sort of like, I appreciate that internally you're always going to have challenges on salaries because you need to be benchmarking against people internally, but sometimes things need to change a little bit, and also being flexible in the opportunity to work from home a little bit, and have that hybrid. I'm not a great believer in the fact that I don't think that anyone should be working at home remotely, especially in the roles that I work on, sales and marketing roles, because you need that bit of buzz. You need that idea generation, which only comes from being around other people, not by being at home. But that said, there is a place for home working as well, and offering a little bit of flexibility. So I think they're probably the two main things. And having I think what's come to light a lot in the recent years is people necessarily making moves just for salary. It is a lot more about work-life balance now. It is a lot more about company culture and how that candidate will fit into the company culture from both sides. And that is a lot more important to candidates and to clients as well than necessarily hitting everything on those on your want list, whether it's qualifications or years of experience, etc.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, companies do need to be a bit more flexible. I think, especially this day and age now, it's everyone is after that hybrid role, and I think, like Lisa, I agree with you. I think being back in the office is something that's a total advantage, and people need that kind of that culture.
Yeah,
I feel without a doubt. But yeah, having a bit of flexibility, I think, it doesn't hurt, does it?
No,
For
exactly.
sure. So what would you say kind of separates an average job seeker from one that kind of really stands out?
This is really hard to quantify, but I think when you speak to somebody the first time, you just know, you just absolutely, you get that feeling that they are just a phenomenal candidate, that they're very easy to talk to. They're very, very open, very down to earth, happy to share their skills and their experiences and what they've done. It doesn't feel like, sometimes it can feel a little bit like you're dragging information out of people. It's not, it's not that, but I just get a feeling. I just get a feeling when it's an excellent candidate. I just get a feeling and think this person is phenomenal, and I need to really help them and get them out there. So yeah, not very quantifiable, Sam. Sorry, but it is about being you just get a feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, like, if you've got two candidates, one that's like 100% qualified, has everything that you can ask for, and the other one slightly underneath that, but that person is a better maybe cultural fit, or it's all day long you're choosing that one, right? So many candidates struggle with salary expectations. How can they confidently determine what they should be asking for?
I think, look at market averages, look at what you're currently on is almost a little bit irrelevant sometimes. And that's why I always sort of ask candidates, what are you looking for? Because what I think, like, that's quite an old-fashioned approach is, you're on, say, I don't know, 50 grand, just to make it easier. You should be going for sort of 10% increase, but that's almost irrelevant, because there can be a lot of history attached with that, and the fact they might have worked for the same business for 10 years. And generally, you don't get, even if you get promoted internally, you don't get as much of the pay rise as you would do if you went externally. So, what candidates are on right now is a little bit irrelevant. I sort of always ask the question of, actually, what are you looking for? What are you looking for to make a move, especially with those candidates that aren't potentially actively on the market? It's understanding what would it have to look like to make a move, and that just goes a little bit further than salary. It goes back to what we were saying about working pattern, work-life balance, travel, how far are you willing to travel, all of those kind of things. But yeah, I think salary is, and I also think this is, once you get past a certain level with salary, a little bit of money doesn't make much difference. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like, if you've got sort of like 120 grand salary, 10 grand on that, actually, month to month, is not going to make much difference for you. Equally, from the flip side, the client, 10 grand over the year, it's less than a grand a month, isn't going to make a lot of difference to what that candidate can deliver to your business, especially within sales or marketing role, because they're quite tangible what you can deliver. So I think it's understanding what the candidate is actually looking for. And it's very rare that I ever see a candidate that the salary aspirations are way beyond what they deserve for their experience. So that it's, the odd time, but it's very rare. So I think if you look on, if you Google it, chat GPT it, you can ask what the salary, range is for a business development manager, and they can range from like 25k up to 125k. So it's like, kind of all a little bit irrelevant. It's about you and what your aspirations are.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all done that. We've all kind of, lives definitely jumped from job to job for, an extra whatever, a few pounds more here, there, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to really kind of like work out, how much more work have I got to do, how much more traveling have I got to do, how much more time am I going to be away from home. It just weighs, you got to weigh everything up, really, haven't you? But yeah, I totally agree with that. And what trends do you see shaping the recruitment industry over the next few years?
There's lots of things going on at the moment, lots of exciting changes. I'm not, there's a lot of talk about AI. That is, a huge hot topic, not just for recruitment, but for every industry, and about how that's going to bed into, recruitment and other industries, and how it's going to affect jobs and change jobs. But also, I think in recruitment, AI's got a place, but there will always be that need for personal connection. Absolutely. Not to say there's tools that you can use to help with things, but I think, going back to what I was sort of saying earlier about hiring on personality rather than actual skill set, you can't teach AI to sort of like speak to somebody, to get a feel for them and get a feel for their drive and their passion and what they want to do and what's important to them. You can teach systems to look at CVs and skills, but then you might be missing out on loads of talent just because they're not quite the perfect match. So I think, there's definitely some tools out there that are going to help with AI, but they're still about that personal connection. So I think that is definitely a big sort of trend at the moment. It's understanding what we can use, like every business, what we can use to make our life easier, to time save, but what else do we still need to do, which is, for me, is that relationship building, both from a client and a candidate point of view, because I don't think anything will ever take that away, or would I want it to. The other thing I think is a big trend in recruitment seems to be sort of like global recruitment and expanding whatever market that is in, because I think the world is becoming a smaller place all the time. So, I see a lot of agencies looking to expand into other markets globally, which is something that I'm looking into at the moment as well. So that's quite exciting. That's really exciting. And it's sort of understanding the different landscapes of the different countries and how they work as well, and how you can adapt. And I think the one big trend that I see, that you've got to be flexible and you've got to be willing to change. But I think that's not just in recruitment. I think that's in any business.
Yeah, for sure. I think AI it's an interesting one in recruitment, isn't it? Because it seems to be taking over every other industry, and I think it will help recruitment. But like you said, it's such a personable industry, isn't it? That
Yeah,
it can probably only go so far, the AI, with helping maybe do, like you're saying, going through sourcing candidates, maybe helping with admin, but actual kind of the hiring process is, it's all humanized, isn't it,
Yeah.
really?
And that's what people want, don't they? That's what I want from a service. So yeah, people want to work with people that, like, clients want to work with recruiters that get them, that understand their business, because at the end of the day, you're taking out a massive amount of time that they will have to invest in finding the right candidate. And if you get them and you know them, you can't teach that to AI, because it's different for every client as well. And every client's journey is a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you could solve one major hiring challenge for your clients today, what would it be?
Major hiring challenge would be to help them find the right people quickly. And that's something, by working with somebody like myself, or a specialist recruiter in their sector, it saves a huge amount of time and money. And I think people see recruitment as a cost, which of course it is. It's a service, it's a cost. However, the amount of time of somebody who's not actually that invested trying to recruit somebody without the skill set can be a really long, drawn out, costly process and time consuming process. So, just, I think, finding those right people, but trusting recruiters to find those right people for them. That's the biggest hiring challenge that they've got. And probably making sure that they have, and again, this kind of depends on what the role is and what kind of level, but making sure that you've got the right onboarding program for your business. I know that a lot of people say, I want them to hit the ground running, I want them to come in and get, but people want to feel like, we all want to feel like part of something. We want to feel part of a business. So making sure that you've got the right onboarding, so people from day one know where to go for everything. They feel invested in the business because they know that, they're invested in the business because the business is invested in them. So they're probably the main kind of things is onboarding and finding that right talent.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of recruitment firms I've been speaking to lately, they're looking for ways to stand out in a crowded market.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a very competitive market as well. What strategies have worked best for you?
I think it's going back to that personal connection. It is very easy to send an email and just sit back and wait for it to come. It doesn't happen. In any business, I say that people, unfortunately, do not be knocking on your door saying, please, can I buy from you? Because if they did, we'd all be millionaires. But I think it is about building those connections, whether that be through networking or phone calls, or, I always try and visit my clients, even if it's like a potential client meeting. I will always try and visit them face to face, because they get to know me, I get to know them, I get to know the business, I get to know what the office looks like, I get to know what the people are like. You know straight away when you walk in somewhere. And so I think that personal connection is absolutely key. However you want to do that, and I think that goes kind of alongside value-added things, where it might be salary surveys, it could be understanding issues within your business, when the right time to hire for your business could be. So really sort of adding value as well as sort of that personal connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks so much for sharing your insights today. We got there in the end.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Sam.
More than welcome. Where can our audience get hold of you and find out a bit more about your company?
So you can check out my website, which is ethicarecruit.com, or just email me, kate@ethicarecruit.com, and I will gladly help you.
Thanks again, Kate. And you've been listening to the Thought Leader Recruit podcast, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Sam.